Hey guys, my name is Artie. Today I wanted to try my paw at making a video about a story that has stuck with me for years and years since I first stumbled upon it. I have a lot of feelings that I want to get out of my head and into the world, mostly because, well, if I wrote a story, I would want people to, I'd want to know how people feel about it. In good ways, in bad ways, in all ways. I also hope that by doing this I can shed some light on the niche that is furry writing, because I feel like there are a lot of really cool pieces out there that don't get nearly enough appreciation. And who knows, maybe you'll find something here you like. Regardless, I hope you enjoy this video. Drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more of these, and let me know how I did in the comments. Without further ado, here is my review / analysis, whatever this is, for X Day at Machinae. I hope I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly. So I honestly don't remember how I found this short story. I just remember that once I read it, I had to have it for myself. So I copied the whole thing from the author's website, I think, and pasted it into a Word document so I could read it myself. I remember reading something about it being in an anthology, whatever that was. I didn't know at the time, but I didn't look into the anthology until preparing this video, and I am so glad I did. For those of you who aren't familiar with literary terms, an anthology is a collection of stories that are based around a central topic or some overarching idea. Furry, as a genre, can be considered a subject for an anthology. However, furry writers, publishers, and editors tend to kind of want to narrow things down a little bit and make it something more like furries and blank, or furries but this specific thing happens. Sometimes they're fantastical, like reclaiming the earth from sentient animals, and sometimes they're more realistic, giving other people's voices a chance to be heard in this harsh and unforgiving world. And sometimes they're freeing, pushing the boundaries of what we know and creating something new with it. Disclaimer. X, the anthology that we're going to be reading out of, is an adult anthology, meaning that if you're not an adult or you're not 18, don't go looking for it, please. It's not for sale to people under the age of 18 because there are some sexual scenes in it. You've been warned. First things first, Day at Machinae is a gay furry romance that takes place in space about a raccoon and a Dalmatian that fall in love with each other. Do I have your attention now? Cool. Alright, so yeah, the story opens up with the raccoon character, Fenric Eliasson, doing his day-to-day work as an engineer aboard the Minerva, which is the name of the spaceship in this story. After a quick call to the chiropractor to schedule an appointment for his back, he receives a knock on his door from a maintenance worker asking him about an appointment to repair a certain cybe he knows. Caught off guard, Fen answers the door and is surprised to see the Dalmatian cybe he knows as Jonas smiling back at him. Merrick, the pitbull maintenance worker, hands Jonas off to Fen, and then Fen starts asking Jonas what his malfunctions are so that he can fix him. Before we get any farther into the story, I want to clarify that cybe, the term, is used for any part organism, part robotic organism in this universe. Think of a cyborg, but furry. Jonas is a cybe because he has a neural network instead of a brain, along with the cybernetic arm and a cybernetic leg and a few other things here and there. So where did the organic parts come from? This is where the story gets rather sad and complicated, but in the best way. As Jonas curiously pokes around Fen's room, the raccoon starts thinking about who Jonas used to be, before Jonas existed. It's then revealed that Fen was in love with a Dalmatian named Kemmer. Same body, but different person. Kemmer was a gunner in this universe, and he was sent away for 8 months prior to the story. He accidentally flew into some space debris, which caused his cockpit to shatter and for him to die. The Dalmatian's corpse was then sent to Fen, who had to salvage what he could off of the body, and in return, he created Jonas. As a housekeeper, Jonas doesn't see all that much excitement. That all changes when he overhears religious conversations from a Mrs. Weissmuller, who is the head of the ship's congregation. He tells Fen that from then on, he's been experiencing paradoxical issues originating from a question he doesn't quite understand. Does he have a soul? The story continues down a wild path about religion, and how abstract topics such as faith and love can blend with the logical rigidity of artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, Fen has to decide how deep into this unfamiliar territory he wants to get, and whether solving this problem is worth the emotional torture of going back down these memories of being with Kemmer, the guy he loved. I don't want to spoil too much of the synopsis right now, so we'll leave it there. for now. However, I do want to explore the religious part of the story since that is what the anthology is about, and it's also what helped this story to stick with me for so long. The title, X, is a reference to the 10 Commandments of the Bible. The anthology has 10 stories in it, and each one relates to a different commandment. Day at Machinae is the third story in the anthology, so you can infer that it relates to the third commandment, which is thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. And while this is true, I found it really interesting that that's not what the story, like the title of the story, actually means. If you were to translate Day at Machinae into English, it would read God and the Machine, which is a play on the phrase Deus ex machina, which is God from the machine. According to Wikipedia, the latter is a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence. White Yote, the author of this piece, is playing with the phrasing here. He's taken this popular meaning, this popular phrase, and twisted it just enough to drive home a really important meaning about the work, at least in my opinion. I'll get to the meaning in just a second, but you should know right now that from this point on, there are going to be spoilers. If any of this story sounds appealing and you're 18 or older, I highly recommend you check out the X anthology for yourself. I'll leave a link to Sofa Wolf's website down below. They're the publisher, and publishers right now need all the money that they can get because of the pandemic and a whole myriad of other things, especially in the furry community. Also, the whole thing was edited by Kyle Gold, an award-winning furry author who you may know from his Out of Position series. Very popular, really good. So you're in good paws when it comes to the content, especially if you like gay furry romance. Anyway, here's the thing I really like about the story. Fen and Kemmer, when Kemmer was alive, shared their love of religion. It's how they met, and a big part of why they stayed together. And now that Kemmer is gone, and Jonas, and artificial intelligence in Kemmer's body, is here, Fen starts slipping back into these memories of being with Kemmer. Now, we only get glimpses into these really intimate moments, but White Yote writes them beautifully. And you also don't see a lot of LGBTQIA+ stories that dive this deep into religion. I mean, it's pretty obvious and for good reason, but as someone who was and still is struggling with their faith, having this type of representation means so much to me. Anyway, personal reasons aside, I believe the story is great because of how the initial question and the problems that come out of that question are resolved. Jonas asking this heavy question to Fen makes him falter, and Fen's not prepared to answer this for himself, let alone try to explain it logically enough to make it make sense to an AI. And Jonas, being the curious little AI that he is, he doesn't care. He just wants answers. And right now, it's Fen's job to provide those answers. So the two of them travel down this long line of Q&A until Jonas comes up with an answer. He does have a soul, because Fen created him, and therefore, Fen is God. Now, Fen is very upset by this, as any religious person would understandably be. Calling him God goes against the third commandment. And Jonas doesn't understand why it's a problem, so he starts cursing out God, basically. And this sets Fen over the edge, causing him to strike Jonas. And I'm not talking like a slap, I'm talking like a... Okay? In the moment of tense silence that follows, Jonas asks about Kemmer, which is a huge shock to Fen because he's not supposed to know about Kemmer. As they talk more and more about Kemmer, Fen finds some much needed closure. The pair then slip into a more intimate scene, and during the pillow talk that comes after, they find a reasonable compromise that sets all of their worries to rest. Okay, I think that's enough synopsis for one story. Now, there is plenty more to the story, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into any more than what I've already said. Instead, I'll just try to clarify my point. So we have our plot device, right? Right. And we have the different parts of it. A seemingly unsolvable question? Check. An unexpected or unlikely occurrence? Check. Here's my point. What makes this story so good is how these 2 points come together. Fen's and Jonas's grievances about religion are solved by them sharing their experiences together. Fen's crumbling faith is supported in this instance by Jonas's rigid logic, giving both characters breathing room to hold on to their beliefs. Fen needs to believe that there's something else out there, whether it's God or an afterlife or his boyfriend watching him from somewhere beyond. And Jonas needs just solid strings of logic to keep from breaking down. Otherwise he won't do his job, he can't even function. It's an incredible and well-written story that expresses how the physical and spiritual aspects of love can help us understand abstract concepts, and therefore bridge the gap between what we know and what we don't know. And I think that's pretty powerful. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I had a ton of fun researching and analyzing the story and reading it. Reading it is like the best thing about it. Like, it was amazing. Incredibly well written stuff. Please go give it a read if you enjoyed this review or analysis or whatever this was. It's so much better than I can put into words, trust me. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Makes me feel good, lets me know I'm doing a good job. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos, please let me know down in the comments. This was a really fun project to make, and I don't think I'd mind making more. Anyway, I gotta bounce. Take care, much love, and I'll see you later. Bye. Oh, that makes it so much easier. Oh, amazing. Beautiful, beautiful work. Absolutely stunning. Beautiful. Wonderful.